By now, most persons have become aware of the full extent of the damage unleashed by the trough, which affected us on December 24, 2013, and the consequent loss of life. First, I wish, on behalf of the Cabinet of Ministers, to extend my sorrow and sympathy to all of the families and friends of those who lost their lives. The pain of your loss is inconceivable. As a government and people, we share your grief and will forever remember that dreadful night. While all died under tragic circumstances, the government is mindful that a police officer lost his life in Vieux just after he had assisted some 4 persons to safety. He gave his life in the line of duty. We are thankful for his life of service and his commitment to duty. We thank God for the life of the 11-year-old who survived the tragedy at Hélène below the Deriso Gap. Her father died, so did her uncle. It was a miracle that she survived. Again, we are called upon to mourn as a family. The deaths do not belong to the families of those who died, but to all of us. The government of St. Lucia will assist the affected families with the funeral expenses of those who died. The damage unleashed by this trough has been extensive and severe. Hundreds of persons lost all of their furniture, appliances, clothing, and other personal belongings to the flood waters. We now know that some 10 homes were completely destroyed by the raging floods. Some residents in the communities of Bexar, Ancillary, Canneries, Labrie, Vieux North and Vieux South, particularly in Bruceville and the Bacadere, were particularly hard hit by flood waters. Several vehicles were damaged by flooding, some beyond repair. Agriculture has suffered badly. According to initial estimates, there was 30% to 40% damage to banana fields, 90% damage to vegetables, 5% damage to tree crops. Additionally, some 90% of all ponds have suffered varying degrees of siltation. At the Union Agricultural Station, the 8 aquaculture ponds were all silted to varying degrees, and some shrimp and fish were lost. Some livestock have been lost, mainly in the small ruminant sector. Not surprisingly, there is heavy siltation of lower valley areas, including farm drainage systems. There was minimal damage in the fisheries sector. Only 1 boat was reported lost. 3 registered boats were reported sunk, but they have been recovered. Our infrastructure, some of which was already compromised by Hurricane Thomas, has taken a further battering. Apart from the collapse of the highway from Castries to Vieux in 2 areas, Volette and Hélène, we have lost 2 major arterial bridges, one at Piaille and the other at Canneries. In addition, some 3 smaller bridges, 2 in Vieux North, have collapsed. The bridge at Grand Riviere in Dennery North has been further compromised, necessitating that a bypass be constructed as soon as possible to avert major failure. Fortunately, prior to the trough, the government of St. Lucia had received funding from ALBA for the construction of a new replacement bridge. The shock bridge has had to be reinforced to withstand the heavy flow of traffic to the north. Major repair work will have to be done to rehabilitate several sections of our highways. Work will continue to remove slides in affected areas. Some slides, for example, in Venus will take some time to resolve. Several schools were affected by heavy flooding. These included the ground floors of the Dame Perlette Louise Primary School, the Ancillary Primary School, the ground floor of the Bexar Primary, and the Canneries Primary and Infant Schools. The Canneries Infant School in particular suffered severe damage to its infrastructure and equipment. Books and other learning and teaching material were lost. The wooden annex was removed from its foundation by the force of the heavy floods in the school compound. Substantial progress has been made on restoring water supplies. I have attached a full summary as an appendix to the statement, which will be circulated to you after this press conference. However, here is a summarized statement of the position at this time. Water systems have been restored at Hill 20, Debara, T.R. Thibbles Water Treatment Plant at Soufrière Tukusong is out of service but should be restored by Wednesday, January the 1st, 2014. Soisel Soldibus. Vieux-Fort is restored but supply will be provided by the end of today as the lines are being flushed out. Bellevue Vieux-Fort North has been activated. In Dennery, water has been restored, but we expect that turbidity will continue to be a major problem. For that reason, portable water treatment plants have been sourced and should be installed during the week to enhance the water quality if needed. Trucking of water from Hill 20 and Port Castries commenced on December 26 and 27, 2013, and provided some early relief. Water systems are not yet rehabilitated in these areas. Canneries, the outlook is that the system should be restored by the end of this week. Miku will be restored by Wednesday, January 1st, 2014. Patience will be restored by Wednesday, January 1st, 2014. Special efforts will be made to provide these areas with drinking water. NEMO has mobilized a trucking of water to canneries and Vieux-Fort as an interim relief measure. Overall, there was minimal damage to our health infrastructure. While the government has an initial damage assessment report at its disposal, the full economic cost of the damage has not been determined. This will be done in the next few days. It is clear, however, that the cost of reconstruction will run into several $100 million. As a government, we set ourselves 5 priorities in the aftermath of the trough. Firstly, we sought to provide care, support, and assistance to those who were affected by the floodwaters. Secondly, we were anxious to secure the reopening of our airports to ensure the movement of passengers to and from St. Lucia. Thirdly, we were equally anxious to calm our source tourism markets, eliminate fears and anxieties, and reassure those who had made bookings that we were open for business and that their holidays would not be compromised. Fourthly, we sought to restore water and electricity supplies as quickly as possible. Fifthly, we were determined to restore vehicular traffic around the island and in particular from the north to the south as quickly as possible. We were able to do so within 36 hours. The government of St. Lucia is pleased to report that we met all of our objectives in this short term. We often describe the Caribbean as a family. There was no better illustration of this than the support which we received from our neighbors. Nearly every head of government contacted me to express condolences and to offer support and assistance to our island. While others waited or wanted estimates, our Caribbean family came to our support immediately without being prompted. Without asking, the government of Trinidad and Tobago was the first to respond. The government dispatched supplies by helicopters, then by its national carrier, Caribbean Airlines, and later by its Coast Guard. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis has dispatched via the central bank $1 million as a donation from the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Sugar Industry Diversification Foundation to assist us with our recovery efforts. The government of Barbados has offered water and any other assistance should we so require. Later this week, we are expecting supplies by boat from the governments of Suriname and Guyana. Yesterday, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda and current chairman of the OECS Authority, Honorable Baldwin Spencer, visited St. Lucia to see the damage for himself. The President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela has expressed its feelings of brotherhood and solidarity and reiterated its commitment to us and indeed the peoples of the Caribbean in these difficult times. It has pledged its unwavering support in caring for the victims and the reconstruction of the affected infrastructure. We are grateful to every single government who has responded, and we ask that our thanks be conveyed to their citizens. The Caribbean Development Bank has responded by offering an immediate grant of US $200,000 to assist with emergency relief. The bank says that, quote, this grant is normally provided for use by the Caribbean Disaster Management Agency. Additionally, the bank has offered a loan of US $750,000 on concessionary terms for clearing and cleaning of affected areas and for restoration of services. The government has moved to access this loan. It is indeed comforting to know that we are not alone. Within 24 hours, the island was motorable, albeit imperfectly in some cases. The work done by the Ministry of Infrastructure, Port Services, and Transport was outstanding. By 2 a.m. on Christmas Day, tractors had been mobilized to begin clearance of the Bexar Highway. By 7 a.m., the highway was open to traffic. The engineers and staff of the ministry worked tirelessly throughout the night to construct bypasses in damaged areas. Bypasses were constructed at Volette, Piai, Eileen, and Canries. Yesterday at 11 a.m., the bypass at Eileen below the Deriso Gap was completed, and vehicles were able to travel from Castries to VA4 with relative ease. I wish to place on record my thanks to the minister and his team. If infrastructure was outstanding, then I would say that Wasco was phenomenal. We have all had our fair share to say about Wasco, but this time they did not disappoint. They too worked tirelessly, day and night, sometimes on treacherous terrain. They encountered slides, collapsed intakes, broken pipes, and disappeared mains. They handled it all in record time. I thank the management and workers of Wasco immeasurably. This nation is grateful. Luselec too did not disappoint. As usual, it proceeded to restore electrical supplies in a systematic, deliberate, and purposeful way. By yesterday afternoon, power restored to all customers with very few exceptions. Its employees and contractors worked through the rain and thunderstorms and in the aftermath to minimize disruptions to the electricity supply and to quickly restore the areas affected. We have every reason to be proud of this company. I want to place on record my sincere thanks to the media for their coverage and efforts at keeping the nation informed. I wish to thank Radio St. Lucia as they remained on air in many parts of the island throughout and provided updates from the government and other agencies and institutions continuously. In some cases, the disruption to our communication was minimal. Despite the damage to infrastructure, many were able to communicate with little disruption. As we speak, work is still ongoing to restore internet and cable services to all parts of the island. I thank too the employees of NEMO, many of whom were recalled from their vacation. Like everyone else, they never expected a trough of this magnitude and its consequences. They have worked tirelessly to ensure that supplies reach affected areas. We owe them our gratitude. But I reserve my greatest thanks to the people of St. Lucia. In these matters, there will always be criticisms, some unkind, some unpalatable, some malicious. That is to be expected. It is normal. But I met a determined people, patient, cooperative, disciplined, and sometimes stoic. I thank those who gave their equipment freely to remove debris and to repair damaged roads to enable the safe passage of vehicles. I remember a visit to Canaries and the young people whom I met, armed with spades, buckets, and brooms as they cleaned their community. The people of Bexar had every reason to be disappointed, frustrated, and even angry after another flood. But they were calm, cooperative, and grateful as they commenced the task to clean their community. Many told me that they may have lost prized possessions, but the most important thing is that their lives were spared. They lived to fight another day. I thank too our corporate citizens for their contributions to the cause. I believe you will understand if I single out Buckeye, the company which has just purchased a Hess terminal in Cul-de-sac. Although still unknown because they have only recently arrived in our midst, they have donated EC $66,391.18 in supplies to aid our recovery efforts, all purchased locally. We thank them immeasurably. The road ahead will be difficult and hard, especially in the face of the economic challenges facing our country. But we have handled this disaster magnificently. largely on our own efforts with few resources. We have worked together, mourned together, and supported each other. It is that kind of spirit we must invoke to face the future. The government is yet to determine the nature of support that will be given to those who lost their worldly possessions. However, I want to assure our children and their parents that school books will be replaced and grants be given to purchase lost school uniforms. This will be done on the reopening of schools with the assistance of the teachers in the affected schools. The weeks and months ahead will be critical as we move to restore normalcy to the island. I urge all to continue in the spirit of love and unity that prevailed immediately after the passage of the Trough. While many of our possessions were washed away in the floods, our spirit as a caring and resilient society remains. It is my hope that we will overcome this with a positive and grateful heart, thanking God for the lives spared and supporting the families who lost loved ones and personal belongings. I thank you